this is what we've been waiting for.
Master Yoda,
Count Dooku.
you have interfered with our affairs for the last time.
After Anakin is defeated and Yoda comes, I took a completely different route with this sword fight. We had all these controversy about whether this was going to work and could Yoda actually fight, a 2-foot frog fight a 6'2" Sith Lord. And I started out doing it fairly conservatively, where he just came and fought. That really didn't work. And it was actually, Ben Burt and John Knoll and a bunch of the people sort of an editorial on ILM were saying, we got to make more out of this. You got to use Jedi powers, and you can't just go right into the sword fight. So I decided to go back to the Empire Strikes Back of throwing things at each other, even though I knew they were equal to each other, so it was a hopeless gesture, and they would have figured that out in 2 seconds. But for the audience, it's nice for them to go through this process of everybody throwing everything around. Then with the blue lightning bolt kind of things that we had from the Emperor that he used against Anakin, the fact that he used them against Yoda, but Yoda is not affected by them. That Yoda has come to a level beyond. Anakin doesn't know how to deal with it. Obi-Wan uses his laser sword to stop it. Yoda can actually just use his hand, and which makes him much more powerful. And say that none of that stuff's going to work on me. So that then we were able to build to the sword fight, and then have the surprise of the fact that he can just jump all over the place. And I was sort of depending on that surprise. I very much like the idea, which is continuing from Empire Strikes Back when you first see him, is he's these funny little green frog living in the swamps, and then eventually you realize that this is a great Jedi Master. Well, in this sequence, it's the same idea. You have this funny little wizened old man who's very old and walks with a cane and hobbles around, and then he pulls out his laser sword and he jumps around like a kid and is really powerful. And then when he finishes, he's all tired again. He goes back to using his cane again. I thought that was an amusing idea, that you have this sort of Clark Kent. Only in this case, it's an old green 800-year-old wizened Jedi Master who walks around one way, but it actually underneath is very powerful. Once ILM got in there and they started to do the cloth simulation and the other things, it really made it a powerful sequence, and ultimately I think it's just the look on his face that really makes it all credible.
We only build sections, parts. It's hard. You have to visualize and be very disciplined about the way you conceptualize a scene. There's nothing we can't cover in blue. And often there's nothing that we don't.